Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back, and I am here with my Rich Brian beanie as well as my Top Drives t-shirt that I won a couple months ago now. Actually, I won this shirt a pretty long time ago. And today I'm back with a new presentation. I haven't done a video like this in a while. And in fact, I've only done about two presentation slides on my channel before. The first one was, I think, about how making money on clubs was just really bad. And then the second presentation, I think that was about like cars I wanted to see in the game. Uh, which one of them was the Countach, and now that's in the game, which is really cool. So today I'm going to make a video on the ultimate guide to clubs and how to kind of use clubs to an advantage where you can be as, I would say, as efficient as possible, that would lead you to making the most money. A lot of people have been asking, so I'm going to bring it to you now. And these are basically the 5 easy steps to be successful in clubs, to make good money, to be efficient. You need to know the track names, you need to know the requirements, the frequency, the cars, and obviously, the key cars that you need. So let's get into it. The first thing that we really want to mention upon is indeed the tracks. Tracks are really important and something a lot of people kind of skip over when they join a club event. Now, these are not all the tracks that you can see in clubs. Definitely, I'm going to be missing out some, and if I do, let me know down in the comments below. But these are the ones I memorized off the top of my head. I've played clubs so much that I've probably memorized a lot of the different tracks. So basically, all the different track sets, clubs isn't like events, multiplayer events, where you have Mousetrap literally just giving you all the tracks on a silver spoon for you to analyze. So the best way to really understand what you're going into is to look at the name of the event. So yeah, as you can see here, familiarize yourself with the names. In green, I have the easy ones, which are the ones that are really fundamental. You can basically understand what the tracks are going to be while basing off the name. The first one, obviously, is circuit breaker. A lot of circuit tracks, karting circuit, indoor karting circuit, all that kind of stuff. A lot of it is going to be twisty. And usually circuit breaker, there is like one fast track, kind of like a fast circuit. Well, yeah, circuit. And then, twisty circuit, all that kind of stuff. Really fundamental stuff. So basically, when you go into it, you can give yourself a 2 cents that circuit breaker is most likely going to be dry, it's going to be asphalt, and it's going to require a lot of light cars and a lot of cars with a lot of handling. Second one is city living. That one also is very, very fundamental. You just want to prepare yourself a deck with medium ground clearance cars. Followed by that is twists and turns. Twists and turns is basically circuit breaker, but then you also have twisty road and hairpin sometimes, or maybe slalom and G-force. Now, always bear in mind that hairpin isn't really a twisty circuit per se. It's actually kind of suited for fast cars as well. Low 0 to 60, good MRA. Not fast circuit. Hairpin is actually a really good track to demonstrate MRA and good MRA. Other really obvious names, Off-Road Outlaws, Winter Warriors. So just pay attention for those. Don't go into an Off-Road Outlaw event with like 5 performance tire cars, because that's just not going to help you. It's not going to help the team, and overall it's just a lose-lose situation. Well, I guess win for the opposing club. But yeah, those are really fundamental. Just go in with your off-road tires, your all-surface tires, all that good stuff. Next is Dragon City. Dragon City is probably my favorite, and is also one of the most common ones. You see it at least 3-4 times a week. Dragon City is basically 3 fast, 2 city. So basically just going with two medium ground clearance cars, and then 3 kind of drag cars. Sometimes fast Dragon City is also 2 fast, 1 twisty, and 2 medium. So what you want to go in for. Usually, what I like to go in for Dragon City is put in 2 just really drag orientated cars with no handling, then 1 all rounder car for that 1 potential twisty, because usually sometimes there's like a slalom in there, and then 2 medium ground clearance cars for the city part. Next one is Speed of Light. That one is also one I really like. That's just a lot of 0 to 100s, half miles, quarter miles, full miles, test bowls as well. And one that I just remembered now that I did not put in this list is Storm Chaser. Storm Chaser, once again, is very fundamental. Just put in your standard tire cars. Now, in the red, as you can see, these are the more complicated tracks. These are the ones that aren't as straightforward, if that makes sense. These are the annoying ones. These are the ones I don't like. Scenic Route, Rising Sun, Black Forest, Monaco. These are the ones where it's kind of like a cluster of just a lot of different track sets and weather and all that kind of stuff. It just makes it a lot more complicated. And in clubs, complicated is bad because complicated leads to more thinking of making a good deck. And more thinking takes more time away from racing. And time away from racing means you get less races done in like a span of 5 minutes. And less races done in a span of 5 minutes equals less money made. And you don't want that. You want to make money as quickly as you can in clubs. Because that's why we play clubs. We don't play it because it's fun. Because it's not. We play it for the money. So, these are the complicated ones. Scenic Route, Rising Sun, Black Forest. These are usually like, we're talking like two two dirt, two asphalt, one mix, and then two of the tracks are rain, but you don't know which one. Maybe one of the off-road ones is rain and one of the mixed one is rain, or one of the asphalt one is rain and one of the snow is rain. That doesn't even make any sense. You can't have rain in the snow, but you get what I mean. It's just a lot to think about. It's not really that fun. Scenic Route is like, sometimes it's like 3 off-road and 2 on-road, and then sometimes it's like 2 off-road and 3 on-road, and then sometimes it's like 2 off-road, 2 on-road, and 1 mix. It's a pain. But these are the ones you want to look out for. I would say the ones I love the most is Dragon City. Dragon City is the easiest to understand. Twist and turn, speed of light, very, very fundamental. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing that I want you guys to familiarize yourself with if you want to be successful in clubs, and that is to get used to the pattern. So every 24 hours, there are going to be 3 new events. So you know how, okay, I live in New York City, so we get the new daily challenges every day. They refresh at 5 p.m., 5 p.m. every day, right? 5 p.m. Thursday, 5 p.m. Friday. This goes for the same with the club events. So every 5 p.m., they refresh. It wouldn't be an immediate refresh. You're still going to get some events from the day before, unless you're going off a day where clubs has been off for 4 hours. And then every day there's going to be 3 new events. And they usually, all right, not all the time, they usually follow this pattern. In those 3 events, one is going to be based off the drivetrain, one is going to be based on manufacturer, and one is going to be based off rarity. Okay, and so for example, you have front-wheel drive, Mercedes, and ultra rare. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is country. Sometimes they're also based off country. Mostly the manufacturer section dictates the country. So, manufacturer, like I say, times 5 Mercedes usually just means times 5 Germany. So sometimes if you have times 5 Germany, maybe you wouldn't have a times 5 Mercedes. It's something like that. But here are the combinations that you can put all these patterns together. So usually, as you can see here, combinations have annoying and forgiving. Annoying are the worst. Annoying means these are the ones where it takes you the most time to think of a perfect deck. And like I said, the more time you think of a good deck, or the more time it takes to make you think of a good deck, the worse the event is. You want to be fast, you want to be efficient. So here are some of the patterns that you see very often. Times 2 country, times 5 rarity. An example is what happened recently. You can see times 2 US cars, times 5 ultra rare. That's not too bad because you still have a times 5 in there, which kind of brings your selection down. And honestly, especially for players like me, which have like massive garages, events that really bring the requirements down to a really niche category might help in terms of just saving time. Times 3 manufacturer, times 2 country of the manufacturer's origin. So times 3 Chevrolet, times 2 USA, or actually no, usually it's times 3 Chevrolet, times 5 USA. So I got that a bit wrong. And the next one is times 3 super rare, times 2 country. And I have this highlighted in red because this is the absolutely worst one. This is the one I avoid like the plague. I hate it so much. This is like times 3 super rare, times 2 German. And, so that opens up so many different variations for decks you can make. because not only there are two requirements, there's that third invisible requirement, which is that fifth card. So let's say you put in three super rares, and two of those super rares are German, which is like the other country requirement. That means you have already fulfilled the requirements that the club event is asking you for, which means it gives you the freedom to put in two extra cards that aren't super rare, but also aren't from that particular country, which means you could put in maybe like one Japanese legendary and one common American car, or one epic French car and one like ultra rare Swedish car. It's just too much to think about. It takes too much time. Honestly, I just avoid it like the plague. It's just too much. And if you combine that with like Scenic Route, which has like 10 more different track sets to like make your deck upon, oh, headache. Headache. I can't. It just gives me a headache. I avoid it like the plague. Really, the forgiving ones, these are the ones you really want to go for, especially if you want to be efficient, you want to be fast, you want to make a good deck super quick, and just make money really quickly. Just go for the ones that say times 5 anything. You know, times 5 US cars, times 5 Cadillac, times 5 Mercedes Benz. It just makes life so much easier. Anyway, moving on now to frequency. So, another thing you want to know, and this is kind of more onto the cards that you want to collect for clubs, is to know the frequency of events that happens in clubs. Obviously, there are events that happen a lot more often than others, and I hate that because, for example, here, green is common, yellow is uncommon, and red is you never see them, right? So in the common category, what I've always seen in clubs is that there's always front wheel drive events. For every one rear wheel drive event, there are two front wheel drive events. I mean, right now, even going on in clubs, there's a front wheel drive event. And I hate that. I don't like front wheel drive cars. They're mostly hot hatches, and I don't like hot hatches. This might be a good thing for a lot of you players that enjoy them, but personally, you know me, I like big, heavy cars with V8s with rear wheel drive. So that's a problem for me. But the ones that I see the most is front wheel drive, rain, a lot of standard tire events, most of them being low RQ as well. Uh, Super rare, ultra rare. And the brands that I always see that always repeat itself is Subaru, Mercedes. In fact, we've had Mercedes 2 times this week, Pontiac, and a bunch of French crap. In fact, we have, I think, Renault right now in clubs the day I'm making this video, and the day you're probably going to see it. Unless you see it in like 12 hours, and it'll be a different requirement. Next is, the uncommon ones, the ones that you see sometimes here and there, but not all the time. So, that's rear-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, which are my favorite drivetrains for club events. And then you have common, uncommon, rare, and then brands you see here and there, but not often is, BMW, Chevrolet, Jaguar, Audi. I've seen Dodge like once. But, these are some that you see sometimes, but not all the time. Not like front wheel drive and rain events that you see literally every day. And then the last one is red. These are basically things I've just never seen before. I've never seen legendary or epic events in clubs, which, I mean, I get it. Not a lot of people have a bunch of legendaries and epics. Okay, fine, but at least give me one day where I can at least just choose 5 epics or something. And then brands that I've never seen. I've never seen a Porsche event in clubs. Never, not once. And it's not like Porsche is like a Lamborghini where everything is just legendary. They have a decent selection of ultra rares and super rares as well. Never seen Bugatti, and I've never seen Roof. In fact, I've never seen a Roof event until the weekly event this week. Besides that, never seen Roof events. So, just know yourself the frequency when it comes to collecting the cars. So next, this is a very basic rule of cars when it comes to clubs. Variety is bad, duplicates good. Okay. Some people they play the game for variety. Collecting every Volkswagen in the game or something like that. And the truth of the matter is, when it comes to clubs, that's not gonna help you. You want duplicates of just the key cars. For example, the Suzuki Swift. The Suzuki Swift is honestly just a horrendous super rare. I hate it, and the Datsun is better in literally every way. But just because front wheel drive events are just so common in clubs, and rain and off road events are so common as well, suddenly the Suzuki Swift becomes so useful because it is like the best front wheel drive super rare off road car in the game. and suddenly you won like 5 of those, so you could play 2 at a time, and then you could make different teams, so you can do 10 races, 20 races, 30 races to get as much money as possible. So duplicates is very good. You want duplicates. Like for me, so I have 2 Colorado ZR2s, which are very, very key cars for clubs. And I kind of switched them out. So I have one Colorado in my A team, and the other Colorado in the B team, and I kind of just spread it out. So in a way, I can do like 20 races, if that makes sense. So yeah, you want duplicates so you can make essentially 3 teams: your A team, your B team, your C team. That equals to about 30 races. So you can skip buying gold to use that gold to service your cars because you have more teams and more cars to filter through and go through. The best way I would say to use your teams, if you have all 3, is use your weakest teams first, because that's when you're in the lower bracket, in the lower ranks of your bracket in your club events. Then once you go to the top, once you fight your way to the top, to maybe the top 20, top 15, when you start fighting higher end players from your other club, then you switch your C team to your B team, or your B team to your A team, and then you have a new fresh start of just strong cars that are service 10 out of 10, and you can just go in there, and hopefully you can hit at least 15 races for that gold participation. That's how I like to play it. But usually I like to go for the silver participation in top 10, which is like 7,200. That's the sweet spot. Anyway, to end off the video, I'm just going to go through real quick all the key cars I personally use, have seen, or have noted down in clubs. So we're going to start off with the common cars. These cars are just great fillers. Like I said, you're not going to use common cars a whole lot in clubs. The most common rarities that you will see, or at least I will see because I like to go for them and see them a lot, is super rare and ultra rare. Everything else is kind of just limboing around it, right? Especially if the RQ limits, it's not like you get super high RQ limits in clubs, which is like 150. It's rare. But it's also like you don't get super low RQ limits in clubs, like 30 or 20. That's rare too. Usually it's something in between, like 80, 90 to 110, and that kind of just opens up the range where you can put in a couple ultras, a couple supers, and then maybe 1 legendary and 1 common, that kind of thing. So in terms of common cars that I think are really useful, I got the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, the Honda Beat, Fiat Punto, and the Pontiac 6000. Pontiac 6000, I chose it because it's four-wheel drive, medium ground clearance. Fiat Punto, it's medium ground clearance, good handling, standard tires. And Honda Beat is a Honda Beat. And Pontiac Firebird is probably the best RQ3 car in the game right now. Moving on to uncommon cars. These are the ones you want duplicates of. These are the really good ones. You want the Renault Twizy F1. You want 4 or 5 of that because that car is super light, grippy, very good for twisty circuits, very good for kind of just balancing out your RQ economy, if that makes sense. You want the Chevrolet Blazer S10 because it's literally one of the only uncommon cars that has high ground clearance and off-road tires. DS5, medium ground clearance, very good handling, standard tires. Pontiac Trans Am, the RQ8. Let me just get some water. Always have granola stuck in my throat. Pontiac Trans Am, RQ8, 6.20 to 60. I've already memorized the stats. It's just a very good drag car for low rarity. Chrysler Laser, as you can see, I have an image of it here. The Mazda Yunus Roadster and the Plymouth GTX. The Mazda Yunus Roadster, I have 3 of them maxed out, and they are lifesavers because, once again, there are a lot of rain events in clubs. And also, like I said, a lot of them are kind of low-ish RQ, but not super low where you need to use common cars all the time. So one car I use time and time again is the Mazda Yunus Roadster. It's like the king of the G-force in the rain, and the king of like the G-force in the slalom in the rain. G-force of the slalom in the rain. It's great. Standard tires, very light, 90 handling. Same as the Chrysler Laser, very good handling, 86, medium ground clearance, and front-wheel drive. And like I said, a lot of front-wheel drive events and clubs. Now, moving on to rare. Now, as you can see, the list just gets longer and longer. Chevrolet Malibu, Ford Mondeo, both of them for the same reasons. They both have great handling. They both have standard tires. They're both medium ground clearance. Lotus Elise 1.6, just a great all-rounder car. Very light, very grippy, quite fast. Good for fast circuits, not for drags. Nissan Skyline 2000 GTR. Nissan Skyline 2000 GTR is a car you really want to keep because it holds a very niche category of it being a performance tire car with medium ground clearance. So this is very good for kind of like city living or Dragon City events where you need, especially when they're in the dry, where you need a medium ground clearance car that also saves you a lot of RQ. Because RQ14 is pretty low when you think about it. So Nissan Skyline 2000 GTR, that's a very good one to hang on to. Subaru XT, you know that car, four-wheel drive, standard tires. Dodge Little Red Express, very good for kind of off-road drags and hill climbs. Caterham 160, just very light, grippy standard tire car. Land Rover Defender, the Subaru Leon, BMW Z4 or Z4 because American, and the Chevrolet Code. I have all of these cars besides the Code, and I have to say I use them time and time again, just all the time. I have two pictures here. On the right is the Land Rover and the Malibu. Now, Malibu, surprisingly, not a lot of people have this, and I think a lot of people don't know how great this car actually is. It's one of the best rare standard tire medium ground clearance American cars in the game. It's kind of like the American equivalent of the Ford Mondeo. So in clubs, if you get a lot of American events, chances are you need to use the Chevrolet Malibu. The Land Rover Defender 90 as well. This car is often slept on. I don't see a lot of people have it. It has a very low RQ. It has four-wheel drive. It has good tires off-road. Of course, the on-paper stats are weak, but once again, you're utilizing, the off-road capability of the car. It's great. Now, moving on to Super Rare. I don't really have any images for this because I don't really like to compete in Super Rare a lot. I usually compete in Rare and Ultra Rare. Those are like my favorite. So Super Rares, like I said, Suzuki Swift. Suzuki Swift is probably one of the most sought after cars that you want to get. Lambo Miura Roadster, that's a good one too. Everyone knows it as an MRA from hell. The El Camino, the Mazda RX-8, the C2R2 Citroen, the Cadillac ELR, and the Dodge Caliber RT all-wheel drive. Cadillac ELR really takes the cake for me. It really is just amazing. It's front-wheel drive, medium ground clearance, standard tires, and great handling. If anything, that is like the club car. The Cadillac ELR and the Suzuki Swift are like the club cars. These are the ones you want like 5 maxed out of, so you can just continuously rotate them in club events. Now, moving on to Ultra Rares, this is kind of my area of expertise. Whenever I play clubs, I always try and go for the RQ, like the highest RQ possible that you can go for, and that is usually using ultras. And I try and go for all the ultra events. I love ultras. So I have a long list here, and this is basically my speciality. So Chevrolet Trailblazer SS, you want as much Chevy Trailblazer SSs as possible. Why? Low RQ of 20 for a drag off-roader. Lotus Elise 135. Everybody knows that, the campaign car. Lotus 340R, Dodge Challenger GT. Why? Four-wheel drive, medium ground clearance. That's why. Very good for the rain as well. Renault Desire, Dodge SRT4 because it has 4.40 to 60 for a front-wheel drive car, which is actually faster than a lot of front-wheel drive hot hatches. Even though the SRT4 isn't even a hot hatch. Dodge Charger SRT8, one of the best city street cars in the game. Really slept on. As you can see, I have a picture of it. 3.90 to 64 RQ20. That's a bargain. Lambo Countach LP400. Once again, MRA from hell. Great low RQ Ultra for the drags. Colorado ZR2. I have 2 of those maxed out. Hummer H3. Abarth 030 with the slicks. Porsche 924. That's the Rally. The Ford Escort Rally Spect, the Roof BTR, Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 1, and literally any other Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. They're amazing because they're light, they're four-wheel drive, they're great handling, and they're low 0 to 60. They have really bad top speed, but that's fine because you really want to just use them for the city streets and the rain and all the twisty stuff. Lancia Deltas are also pretty good, but the Mitsubishi Lancer Evos are just that much better. And as you can see, I have some pictures over here. Dodge Charger SRT8, one of the best city street cars, and of course the Lotus 340R, just one of the best all-rounder twisty cars in the game. You can even use it for the fast circuit. Moving on to epics. Now, really what you want to focus on is ultra, super rare, and rare. When it comes to epics and when it comes to legendaries, like I said, there are no epic or legendary events, but these are the ones that you might want to look out for. Chevrolet Murray, Ford Raptor, BMW M3 CS, Lamborghini LP500-2, Range Rover V8. Now this Range Rover V8 is actually very impressive because let's say your RQ limit is kind of high, relatively high, and there is a drag off-road set. Like off-road outlaws, but with like a 1 mile. Everybody's going to use that Trailblazer, but if you have that Range Rover V8, you're just going to be that much better. Just a very tiny margin, but you'll be a little better for 3 more RQ. So if there's there's space in your RQ deck to put the Range Rover, then I would really recommend that. It's a really good one. The Ford Mustang GT, once again, medium ground clearance, it will beat the likes of the Dodge Challenger GT, the Porsche RSR, Dodge Charger Hellcat, Best Drag, or the compressors, but I don't have them. The BMW M4, and every other super OP epic you can think of, because I can't memorize all of them and list them down here. So basically, CT6, Superlight, the Banana, the Roof Compressor, the BTR2, the what else? DS numero 9, the Mazda Furai, the list goes on. Finally is legendary. This is self-explanatory. I mean, not often you can use legendaries in clubs, and usually when I see legendaries used in clubs, the one I see the most is the Campaign McLaren 12C. So yeah, just use whatever legendaries you can. If you can use it, just use it. What I usually like to use a lot in clubs for my legendaries per se, I like to use my Cadillac 16 for all the rains. I like to use Hollywood because Hollywood is literally my best legendary. Also RQ28 that beats like RQ30s because it's maxed. And if the limit is like super high, then I'll use the Bugatti Veyron Super Sport or the Porsche 918. It's pretty fundamental stuff. But with that said, that is basically my ultimate guide to clubs and how you can utilize your cars in a way to make you the most money. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe. I really enjoy all the support so far. I'll see you all next time. Blossom out.